Hello readers, welcome back to Reads with Room B, with me, Room B, and today we will be continuing with Gumshoes, The Case of Madison's Father by Russell Multy. We are on Chapter 15, The Project. Okay, let's jump in. Josiah fumed at the top of his lungs, staring at Stuart, Madison, and Timothy. I can't believe how stupid you three are. Do you know I could arrest you for tampering with a crime scene? Stuart tried to interject. Do you three want to go to jail? Josiah boomed. No, sir, they said in unison. As Josiah slammed his fist down, the paperwork from the cluttered case file that had been strewn about his desk flew into the air and floated gently onto the floor. Madison raised her hand. How is Mr. Mitchell? Josiah looked over at her. He is in a coma at County General. We have a police guard stationed outside his room 24 hours a day. Nobody goes in or out except medical staff. Not family, not friends, and definitely not Snoopy children. So don't even think about it. Madison breathed a sigh of relief. Is he going to be all right? We don't know, said Josiah. And don't think for a second that finding Mr. Mitchell gets you off the hook. I can't believe this. You two were just here, and now you brought poor Timothy into your delinquency. Josiah marched up to his son and stuck one of his big knobbly fingers in his face. You're on a slippery slope, pal. Your mother wanted me to take it easy on you, but I can see this has gone too far. I'm tearing down your little treehouse in the morning. Kiss the Gumshoes Detective Agency goodbye. Timothy raised his hand. But, sir, I believe my father built that house, and it's only with his approval that you can dismember it. Josiah turned a puzzled eye to Timothy. His approval? This was his idea. You've skipped school and been hauled down to the police station, and he just didn't think that would look good on your college transcript. Josiah turned his attention back to Stuart. And you are a disappointment. Is there anything you have to say for yourself? Stuart's eyes rose to meet his father's gaze. Just one question, Dad. What is it? Come on, spit it out. Is that the case file on your desk? Stuart asked. Smoke nearly steamed out of Josiah's ears. Mister, you are about one word away from being knocked into the next century. Josiah gritted his teeth in a veiled attempt to quell his anger. As a young patrolman burst into the office. Detective, we need you. Can't you see I'm talking to my son? I'm sorry, sir, but they need you immediately in the conference room. I was told not to come back unless I brought you with me. Josiah sighed. Fine, you three stay put. I'm taking a mental picture. If I find one piece of paper out of place on my desk, well, you won't want to know what will develop. Josiah and the patrolman walked down the hall towards the conference room. Once they turned and were out of sight, Stuart hopped up and rummaged through the papers on his father's desk. Madison rose to stop him. Are you crazy? Your dad's gonna kill you! Yeah, it's highly unlikely this can end in a positive outcome, Timothy said. Relax, guys, Stuart said. Look, he's only mad because he thinks we're interfering in the case. But if we find out something, how can he be mad at that? That's stupid, Stuart, Madison said. He's mad because you're putting yourself in harm's way. Timothy nodded. Correct, Madison. Not to mention that you're breaking the law, Stuart. Stuart smirked as he examined a single sheet of paper. Relax, guys. Sometimes you've got to break a law to enforce the law. Take a look at this. Stuart held up the paper to them. It was a ransom note that had been glued together from different pages from countless different magazines. Timothy read the note aloud as he tried to make some sense of it in his head. I have the lawyer. No funny business. 100 grand by tomorrow. Timothy shook his head. That doesn't make any sense. There are no further instructions. Stuart smiled. I know. The kidnapper's trying to throw the police off the trail. How do you figure? Madison said. If the kidnapper were interested in the money, he would have specified the time and place of drop-off, not to mention the idea of writing a ransom note with cut-out magazine clippings is antiquated and gimmicky. No, this guy is looking to put on a show. This isn't about the money, it's about something else. What? Said Madison. I don't know, but something bugs me, said Stuart. He pointed to the green uppercase L that started the word lawyer. I recognize this letter. I've seen it somewhere before. Madison bent closer to examine it. Where? In a magazine I read at your dad's house, and again on the poster presentation you brought in. That's highly implausible. Sorry. Timothy squinted and pressed his glasses closer to his nose. That's highly implausible. It looks like a green L to me. Stuart dropped the note back into the desk and rushed towards the door. Trust me. Come on. I have to test the theory. Timothy and Madison both replied vehemently. No way! Stuart turned back to them. You two are more alike than you realize. You're both wet blankets. Now, if you want to solve this case, you need to follow me. Now. Stuart ducked and ran out of his father's office towards the exit. Timothy and Madison looked at each other for a long moment before shrugging their shoulders and following Stuart out the door. As they rounded the corner toward the exit, Josiah walked back into his office. Stuart! He yelled. Inside Gumshoe headquarters, Timothy typed, while Madison and Stuart paced back and forth. Find anything yet? Said Stuart. The printer heated up. Timothy finished his search, and Stuart ran over to pick up the page it printed out. Better Landscaping isn't sold in any East Willow stores. The closest shipment is 50 miles away, but there are 30 people who subscribe to Better Gardening in East Willow. I'll bet you anything 90% of them have Mr. Reed for journalism. A second page printed, and Madison snatched it. Why are you printing out criminal records for Mr. Reed? Stuart grabbed the document and looked it over. Mr. Reed hit a student with his car last year and was suspended from teaching the rest of the year. He had to move school districts. And look at this. Who was the lawyer for the school district in the wrongful termination case he lost? Your father. Then why wasn't his case in my father's red files? Said Madison. He must have never submitted a death threat, said Timothy. That doesn't mean he doesn't hold a grudge, though. Stuart pulled another printed page from the printer tray. His wife filed for divorce 2 months later, after he'd lost that case. Well, there's no doubt he had motive, and you told me he'd come back to school after running errands on the day your father was taken, which gives him opportunity. As the trio huddled around to analyze the data, they heard Stuart's father yell out to them, That's it, kids, it's over. Stuart poked his head out the window. His father was holding a ladder, with Timothy's father close at his heels. You can't run, Timothy. We have you. Stay put. Stuart stepped on the ledge of the nearest window. Timothy, it's time to activate Protocol Charlie. The ladder slammed down to the entrance of the treehouse. I hate Protocol Charlie, said Timothy. What's Protocol Charlie? Madison asked. Stuart tugged on the zip line. This is Protocol Charlie. Madison looked at the zip line cable. Awesome! It's now or never, Stuart said. Madison climbed onto the ledge and grabbed onto the cable and pushed herself off and screamed with glee all the way down. Stuart beckoned to Timothy. Come on, man. Stuart helped Timothy onto the ledge. Timothy grabbed onto the zip line and inched his way towards the edge. Science, please save me. He pushed himself off and slid down. Josiah climbed to the top of the ladder and rushed towards Stuart. "Get over here this minute." Stuart stuffed the printout into his shirt as he leaped onto the zip line. "Sorry, Dad." Josiah watched his son roll onto the ground and disappear with his friends into the night. Madison, Stuart, and Timothy walked through the dark school hallway. The moonlight accentuated and glistened off the lockers, adding just the perfect amount of light to recognize the outlines of the lockers and classroom doors, but nothing smaller. Madison whacked herself on the corner of a locker. We should have brought flashlights. "Well, next time you're saving my bacon, I'll make sure to have them handy," said Stuart. "I'm just saying I don't understand what we're doing here." Timothy sidestepped a janitorial bucket. "It's fairly logical in my opinion, but I'll see to Stuart." "Here's the deal," said Stuart. "Your poster had that exact letter L carved out of it. If we break into Mr. Reed's room, and the letter is gone, we'll know he's the guy." Madison stopped in her tracks. "That doesn't make any sense. What if you just bought another issue? Or what if the letter fell off somewhere else? It's not like glue is indelible." "Oh yeah? Well, I'm sure there are a lot of subscribers to that magazine who also hold a huge grudge against your father. It could happen," Madison said. They reached Mr. Reed's classroom. Stuart pressed the handle on the door, and the door swung open. He didn't lock his door. I like a trustworthy sucker. Madison followed Stuart and Timothy inside. "And don't you think it's a little weird for a kidnapper?" Timothy flipped the switch, and the lights flickered on. Poster boards were lined up along the windowsill on the opposite wall. They walked up to Madison's poster. Sure enough, the exact same L was missing that had been on the ransom note. "I told you." Timothy scanned the row of posters. "That's not all." They looked at the poster next to Madison's. 2 letters had been removed. The poster opposite side of Madison's was missing 3 letters. In fact, every poster in the room had at least 1 missing letter. They searched along the floor and found none of the missing letters. "What now?" asked Madison. "We let my dad know," said Stuart. "No more secrets." "But he's after you," Timothy said. "You'll never be able to get through to him." "Leave that to me," said Stuart. "Meet me at Mr. Reed's house in an hour, and bring some popcorn. It's going to be quite a show." Josiah, tired and weary, walked into his office and slumped into his chair. On his desk was a red folder that had not been there earlier. He opened it and found not only all the information Stuart had gleaned about Mr. Reed, but also pictures of the posters with missing letters. Josiah smiled before he closed the folder and screamed into the station, "Get me a judge!" And that is the end of Chapter 16. Stay safe, be awesome, and keep reading. See you next time.